government's official position is not to speculate on this subject. We can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Somewhere in the Live Stream. I am your host, Ryan Sprague. Is my mic working? The host of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast and this live stream that we try to do every Sunday here. We're starting an hour early tonight, so apologies to all of our regulars. I know you usually have this in your calendars, on your alarms, on your phone, but we had to go an hour early tonight because today is the Super Bowl. That's right, you American football fans have the big day today, and yeah, I'm excited. How about you guys? Who do you want in tonight's game? We have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, from a lot of what I've seen is that the Chiefs are predicted to win, not by much, but I'm going for the Eagles. Fly high, baby. Winging a prayer. So I am wishing the Philadelphia Eagles all the best tonight in the game. And this is going to play a little into some of the stuff we're going to talk about in the top of the show tonight, guys. But before we get to the UFO news and all that good stuff, I want to say hello to all of our regulars in the chat. I saw a bunch of them. Jeffrey's here. Dalen is here. Patrick is here. Ashley is here. Hello to Daniel. J. Ellen Heineken is here. Moth into Flames, longtime listener, first-time chatter. That's awesome. Welcome to our crazy family here at Somewhere in the Live Stream. Who else do we have? Joseph is here. Donnie is here. Hello to M. Benz over on Twitter. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Jay Lilly is here. Ryan Ragtime is joining us from Twitter as well. Spread Cannery is here. Check them out online, guys. If you live in North America, they do incredible canned vegetables and stuff over there in Canada. They're drinking tequila tonight. Welcome. I'll get to what I'm drinking in a minute. Hello to Carlos Skywatcher. Welcome, my friend. Nisa is here. Nisa, as always, making the donuts. Sending my love to you, Nisa, and everyone over there. Awesome, guys. So, yeah, like I mentioned, Super Bowl is tonight, so we're starting an hour early, so you'll have time to get all those snacks ready, watch the pre-game show, and all that good stuff. I didn't want to step on the toes of the multi-billion-dollar Super Bowl tonight. We got someone drinking tequila, someone's drinking a Pilsner. So Pat Gallagher, what am I drinking tonight, my friend? You're gonna like this. I'm going classic. John Smith's Extra Smooth. Now, for my European or I guess slash UK watchers, listeners, what's the deal? What's the deal with this one? It said it's like one of the most standard popular beers in the UK. I will say, standard is putting it lightly. Cheers to you guys. Here's to the Super Bowl and to the Eagles. This is the most standard beer I have ever had in my entire life. It is super smooth. It's a nitro pour, so kudos for that. But it is flavorless. It has no bite, and it's just like drinking water that tastes like beer. But I love it. I absolutely love it. It reminds me of like a cartoon beer. It's just as standard as it comes, and I could not be more happy about that. So cheers to you guys, and cheers to Fabian. Thank you so much for becoming an official YouTube member. I really do appreciate that, my friend. You will receive the same rewards you would if you were a Patreon subscriber, early access to the show, bonus content, and everything in between. So thank you so much, Fabian. I truly do appreciate that. I got some news about Patreon in just a little bit too, guys. But before we do that, our Apple Podcast rating and review contest continues up until February 14th. So if you haven't already and you want to be a part of this contest, you're going to win a vintage UFO book from this amazing collection you see behind me here, and another surprise for me as well. This is a contest I'm running till February 14th, and all you have to do is go over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. The way I will know that you did so is send me a screenshot of your rating and review. You can either email it to me to the email we'll put up on the screen, or it's in the show notes as well. Or you can send me a screenshot over any of our social media DMs as well. So all of you will be entered into a contest. We will draw it on February 15th, and the winner will be announced across social media thereafter. So good luck. Go over to Apple and rate and review the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. It helps us tremendously, gets us featured over there, and moves us up in the rankings. So thank you in advance for that, guys. Ryan needs a beer review channel, Jay Ellen says. Oh, love it, love it. Lemon and lime kefir. Nice. Corona. Cheers. Cheers to that. Hola, Carlos. The Colin Robinson of beers, Dalen says. Oh my God. For those of you who don't get that reference, go watch What We Do in the Shadows, the television series. Chef's kiss. I just finished watching it a couple weeks ago. Cried my eyes out. Love it to death. That is the perfect way to describe this John Smith beer, Dalen. That's for sure. But I like it. I actually really do. It's very enjoyable. It's so easy to drink. Although I saw it's only like 3% alcohol, so I'm going to need about 10 of these to get through tonight. But it is what it is. It's not that bad, Bat. No, it's not. Nadja is my spirit animal. Dalen says, yes, she is Incredible. What an amazing performance. Okay. A few more things for you guys before we get to the UFO news. Super chat and super stickers are open if you would like to help support the show tonight. It's a quick, easy way to do that. And I put a goal up on YouTube. I think we're doing 5 super chats or super stickers by the end of the night. So help us reach that goal and help support all the endeavors we do across the board with Somewhere in the Sky, Somewhere in the live stream, and everything in between. Every penny goes back into making the show bigger, better, and better quality for you guys. I'm just going to say it now. This week's episode of the podcast, by far, one of my favorite episodes I've ever made. I am so unbelievably proud of it. I worked my ass off for it. And yeah, I'm really excited to put it out into the world. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. And that's the kind of quality I want to dedicate to every single episode of the podcast. And I can't do that without your help. So thank you guys. Thank you in advance. The super chat and super stickers will be open all night to do that. And we will highlight your questions and your comments in the super chat first and foremost as well. So there's that. Anything else? Nah, we're going to dive in tonight, guys. What do you say? Super Bowl tonight, right? Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to know who you want to win tonight. Put your predictions in the chat. But the reason I'm bringing up the Super Bowl is every year during the Super Bowl, there seems to be maybe 1, maybe 2 UFO or alien themed commercials. I mean, that's half the reason people watch the Super Bowl, right? It's the commercials. And it seems like every year we're just getting more and more of these things. Now, I'm not putting anything into that like, oh, this is slow drip disclosure or anything. I think UFOs sell. Aliens sell. They're in the mainstream news now more than ever. And people just like them. People like UFOs and aliens. So why not use that to your advantage when putting out a commercial that's going to be seen by millions of people, the biggest game of the year. So what we're going to do now, I thought this would be a fun way to kick off the live stream tonight, is let's take a look at 2 of the commercials that are going to be coming to you tonight during the Super Bowl 2025. And then we're going to take a look back at a commercial from last year's Super Bowl that was directed by and starring Martin Scorsese. Yes, that's right. So this first one we're going to show is really fun. This was a contest that Doritos actually did, where they asked young filmmakers to put together a pitch for a commercial, and they will play it during the Super Bowl. And the winners got their commercial made, and this is what they decided to do. So go ahead, give this a watch.
UFO detective.
Come on, man! Doritos.
Doritos.
Yeah!
I loved it. Absolutely. They nailed it. Perfect abduction scenario turned. I ain't going. I got Doritos. Loved it. So that was the first one I wanted to play for you guys, and we'll see if we get hit with any copyright things tonight. This is for educational purposes, right? This is the second one. This actually released maybe a week ago, but I did hear that it's going to play during the Super Bowl as well. And this takes place at a military installation that shall not be named. Yeah, well, it's Area 51. Give this a watch.
We've made contact with a new alien species, and apparently they're foodies.
Oh, foodies. The worst.
Mr. Ramsey, we'll need you to cook for them. You'll have access to everything the Area 51 test kitchen has to offer, including top secret alien cooking technology.
Wait. That's just a Hexlab pan. I've got these at home.
Unfortunately, it was leaked 8 years ago. The pan was developed using material from an alien spacecraft.
What?
Extremely durable, but low friction. Created to deal with a thick egg-like atmosphere.
You're saying the pan I used to fry my bacon is made out of flying saucers?
We don't have time for a science lesson, Mr. Ramsey. The alien ambassador is already here.
Whoa.
Not her. Him.
Hey, what's up, dude?
You're an alien?
All famous people are aliens.
I'm not.
I meant like really famous people.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Huh?
Nice. Love Gordon Ramsay. Kitchen Nightmares is one of my favorite shows. That was fun. That was a fun one. Especially like touching on the whole like recovered materials, reverse engineer technology, and using it to create frying pans. Love it. Mwah, mwah, mwah to both of these. I look forward to everyone seeing these commercials tonight at the Super Bowl. So good on them for that. The next one I'm going to play for you guys was from last year. You might recall this one. Really interesting. Now, Martin Scorsese was offered the opportunity to direct a Super Bowl commercial and create it from scratch, put it out, direct it, and even get featured in it. And again, this is what he came up with. So let's give this one a watch and yeah, enjoy this one.
Reports of flying saucers are nothing new.
These are routine sightings, not isolated events.
Are you seeing that? It's spinning. There's a whole swarm of them. Oh my God. They're all against the wind. All against the wind. Oh, look at this. That's 110, 150.
There was an historic hearing today on Capitol Hill and an unprecedented bipartisan push for UFO transparency.
とにかくまず今日はカモカについてクリエイティブでビューティフルなコラボレーションを
I told you to take Broadway. This always happens.
There you go, guys. What'd you think of that one? No, that was the extended cut from last year's Super Bowl, and that was featuring Martin Scorsese and directed by him. I love it. It's kind of a commentary on like, and this sort of happened, like when the New York Times story first broke, and like the UFO world itself kind of changed overnight, but the world didn't seem to care. Like, yeah, the topic gained a lot more attention. It's taken more seriously now, which is honestly more than we ever could have asked for or probably deserved. But the fact that the commercial like kind of spoke to that, right? Like, even if UFOs came down and landed on the White House lawn, like, we'd be so distracted that we wouldn't even care. Or we would think it was fake or something like that. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting commentary on like where the world and society is today, and even like an alien invasion, or let's say alien contact, couldn't happen unless, the aliens created a website through Squarespace and beamed it down onto every smartphone and computer in the world, so people would finally have to pay attention. So yeah, I thought that was interesting that, of all the things he could have made a commercial about, he chose that. And he included things like the oversight committee hearings and, the Pentagon program and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, really interesting stuff. That's just a portion of it, guys. If you go back through the history of the Super Bowl, you're going to find many more commercials, all the way back to like the Budweiser, like, what's it? Like those days. They had an alien one then. They had another beer one where like a bunch of like hot chick aliens came off a UFO and said, like, we need a representative to come with us. And, all these guys are about to go, but their wives won't let them. And then they're like, oh, we have beer or something like that. And the wife's like, oh, okay, go, go, go. Something like that. It was, yeah, I remember that one when I was younger. So many. And I'm sure there'll be even more tonight that we don't see, along with trailers for new movies, and probably some weird commercials as well for things that have the money to promote things that probably shouldn't be. But that happens every year too. But yeah, I thought that would be a fun way to start off the night, guys. Go Chiefs! C&B Adventure says, but more importantly, where did you get your hat? That's a good question. I don't know if I shared this on the show before. So I'm part of the Rod Serling Foundation, which is actually like kind of like a fan club for Rod Serling. It was actually created by his daughter, Ann Serling, and they're out of Binghamton, New York. And I'm a card-carrying member of the Rod Serling Foundation. I pay dues. I get the newsletters. I try to contribute to their events and their meetups and stuff like that. And as a reward, I got one of these hats from them. So I love it. I got to start wearing it more. It's so cool. Anyways, let me go back up into the chat with you guys. Hello to Shaq Valet. Great name. Cool. So let's start with some entertainment news, guys. Actually, we got quite a few entertainment stories tonight for you. It's going to be a fun sort of light show. I've got some interesting UFO stories for you. But yeah, we're just going to have some fun tonight. Why not, right? It's Super Bowl Sunday. Let's start with this news that is kind of breaking, and not too much news on it yet. However, it appears we're going to be getting a movie about Art Bell, the famous host of Coast to Coast AM. And who's going to be playing Art Bell? None other than Paul Giamatti. Wow, this is so cool. There's no news yet about what the movie is going to be about, if it's just about Art Bell, if it's just like, sort of a cursory plot line in a bigger story or movie. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see Art Bell portrayed by Paul Giamatti, who, for some of you may not know, Paul Giamatti hosts a podcast that talks about UFOs and the paranormal and unexplained mysteries. It's called like the Chinwag podcast. I'll have to try to find that. But yeah, if you just type it in, Paul Giamatti podcast, it should show up. So he has a genuine interest in the topics that have been covered on Coast to Coast for decades and decades. And now it's come full circle. And it looks like Paul Giamatti will be playing Art Bell in an upcoming movie. So cool. I cannot wait to see whatever this turns out to be. Who would play? We're going to do some fantasy casting tonight. That goes for the pinned question on YouTube as well, that we'll get to in just a few moments here. So, Art Bell. Who would play George Norrie if they were to make a movie about George Norrie? Or George Knapp? Who would play Norrie and who would play George Knapp? I want to know from you guys in the comments below or in the live chat if you're watching this live. Let me know who would play George Knapp and George Norrie in a Coast to Coast Throughout the Decades movie. He kept me up many a night, Jay Lilly says. Yeah, same here. That music kicked in midnight in the desert, baby. Classic stuff. Let's move to another entertainment news story. it seems that the title of Steven Spielberg's upcoming UFO-related movie has changed and is now going to be called Disclosure. This story came to us from the Hollywood Reporter. So Steven Spielberg's UFO film, recently titled The Dish, will apparently now be renamed to Disclosure. Interesting. Filming on Disclosure is set to begin in New Jersey on February 28th. Oh man, that's in just a couple weeks. The cast is composed of Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Eve Hewson, Coleman Domingo, and Wyatt Russell. That is a stellar cast for this UFO movie. So, what do you guys think? What does this title change mean in the grand scheme of what this movie could be? I'm really interested to know your thoughts. Put them in the chat, throw them in the comments below. Why did they change it to Disclosure, and what does that mean for the story that's going to play out in this? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. We know nothing about the plot or storyline yet. I'm sure, hopefully, that'll start to trickle out, but Spielberg's pretty good at holding his stories to the chest until that first trailer or preview drops. So I will be very interested to see, is this like Disclosure happening? Like, are we going to be watching it in real time? Has Disclosure already happened? I saw some rumblings online that possibly this movie takes place like days after Disclosure, which is a book written by Richard Dolan and Bryce Zabel. It was a hypothetical book about what happens after Disclosure occurs. So is that it? Are we going to see a post-Disclosure world through the eye and the cinematic lens of Steven Spielberg? We shall see. We shall see. What do you guys think the movie will be about, other than just this sweeping term Disclosure? I'd be really, really interested to know. The other thing I'm interested to know from you guys, Daniel says, I wonder if it actually discloses some truth. Who knows, man? Like, there are people who think maybe he's working with people. Like, I've seen even people claiming that possibly Lou Elizondo's gotten in his ear, and Elizondo's like agent or manager or whatever. So I don't know. Like, we'll see where the chips lay with all of this, but I'm interested. What was that? The Steven Spielberg is in the deep state payroll. No, I don't think he is. I don't believe that. I know a lot of people say that, but no, I don't personally believe that. Thank you for the comment, though. So the other reason I bring this up, guys, is in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Spielberg's, legendary movie, one of my all-time favorite movies. He took the title from the Close Encounter Classification Scale that was created by J. Allen Hynek. So naturally, like, you would hope Spielberg would give Hynek some sort of shout out or like thank you for that or whatnot. Like, literally, the entire movie was inspired by J. Allen Hynek's work. So what did he do? He put he put J. Allen Hynek in the movie. J. Allen Hynek actually makes a cameo towards the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind when the aliens actually come down. Hynek's one of the doctor scientist people out on the the tarmac when the UFO lands. They show him for a good amount of time. This isn't new. I know I'm not blowing people's minds with that, but some people didn't know that J. Allen Hynek was actually featured in Close Encounters, which is so cool. So I want to know from you guys. I put the pinned question. Who do you want? What UFO person, UFO personality, UFO podcast host, television host, researcher, I don't know, author, what UFO person, that big sweeping web, what UFO person would you want to make a cameo in Steven Spielberg's upcoming Disclosure? It could be from the past, it can be the present. I want to know from you, Who do you want in the UFO sphere or world to make a cameo in Disclosure? Put it in the comments below. Put it in the live chat. I'm dying to know. We'll star them, and we'll get to those a little bit later in the show. Jay Allen says Sean Astin should play Ryan. I've gotten that before. Definitely. I'd be honored for Sean Astin to play me. Are you kidding me? Which one was he? Bilbo? Was he Bilbo or Frodo? He's Bilbo, right? I know he was Rudy. Love me some Rudy. Hal Putoff. Oh, they're coming in. They're coming in. We're going to star these guys, and we'll read them out in just a little bit. But let's move to an interesting story in my neck of the woods, actually. Right here in Scotland, of all places. So this story comes to us from the Scottish Sun, and I'm going to go ahead and read this for you guys. Excuse me, I'm hiccuping like crazy tonight. It's this John Smith smooth beer. The headline of this story reads, UFO hunter slams Scots Museum bosses over rejecting bizarre exhibit. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see on your screen here a gentleman with a pair of trousers. That is UFO researcher Malcolm Robinson, who I've had the pleasure of working with here in Scotland and on some past episodes of the podcast. You also see a really weird UFO, which we'll get to. And the top image is the National Museum of Scotland, which is actually, I'm not kidding you, probably about a 15-minute walk from my flat here in Edinburgh. Been to it a few times. One of the best museums I've ever been to. Free to the public. I can't wait to go back. I got to get back there, actually. I'm long overdue. But I don't know if I want to go support them because they rejected a UFO exhibit. So again, this story comes to us from the Scottish Sun, and I'm going to go ahead and just read this here for you guys. Scottish UFO researcher Malcolm Robinson has claimed that he offered to donate the iconic trousers worn by UFO experiencer Robert Taylor to the Scottish Museum, but was turned down. Forestry worker Robert Taylor repeatedly saw a mysterious dome-shaped object land in a clearing in Detchmont Woods, West Lothian, back in 1979. Pretty crazy case. And I thought, what better way than to hear it from Robert Taylor himself. So let's summarize the case with this brilliant video that features Robert, I think his wife, and some of the investigators that actually worked on the case. So you guys get a better feel for what this case is and why it's so big in Scotland and important, and why Malcolm believes that these pants and other items and artifacts should be in the Scottish Museum. So let's give them
such a story.
Well, I'm pretty certain that day that I saw a spaceship sitting here.
Man, talk about like just no frills, straight to the point. Scottish people, I love it. They've been other cases of spiked UAP, Margaret says. Yeah. So I actually had the amazing opportunity to talk about this case on a Scotland specific episode of Ancient Aliens recently. If you go back in their archives and look for like Mysteries of Scotland, it was last season. You could see me, I think our good buddy Andy McGrillen, and I think Dan Zetterstrom might be in the episode as well. All three of us were able to tackle this case and many others throughout Scotland. But yeah, this is one of the most famous cases ever to happen in Scotland, and one of the most well documented. I mean, you have the pants. There were things to actually investigate, and this was the only case to ever be considered like a crime, like something actually happened to this guy, and he claims that it came from that. What was it? That spiky UFO that had basically these two balls underneath it that came out were spiky, almost like drones that went out and tried to grab Robert Taylor. Just crazy. Insane. Love this case. So it doesn't it doesn't surprise me that Malcolm would want some sort of archive of this. And to get it into like a National Museum of Scotland would just be amazing. Spiky UFO, very punk rock, Jay Allen says. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you heard Robert Taylor and his wife. Like, she's like, oh, there's no such thing as a spaceship. I'm bringing you to the hospital. Just amazing. Incredible stuff. And he stuck to the story till his dying day. I believe he actually passed away. I have it here. He passed away in 2007, Robert Taylor, at the age of 88. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Malcolm Robinson did say this about, the whole situation. He said, quote, "This is not any old pair of trousers. They are part of Scotland's biggest ever UFO story. A full-blown police investigation was carried out, including a forensic examination of the ripped trousers. It might sound bizarre to some, but this is an iconic piece of Scottish history, which rightly deserves a place in a museum. I've been offered thousands of pounds by an American businessman, but I have refused. I wanted to donate the trousers to the National Museums of Scotland. Sadly, they refused, and I'm very disappointed." So sad. Malcolm's awesome. Honestly, guys, go support his work. He's on Facebook. He's got books out. Go buy his books. Go support him. He's like one of the only researchers we have here in Scotland that continues to just do incredible work. And the fact that like he could have easily sold these to some dumb rich American who just wants to like brag about having these Scottish trousers. No, these belong in Scotland. This is a case that they should be very, I guess, proud of. I don't know how many people are proud when UFO cases happen in their area. Maybe now more than ever, but yeah. I would have to agree. I think they should be archived. They should be somewhere where anyone can come and see. So yeah, I'm wishing him luck on that. Now, the National Museums of Scotland, a spokesperson did reply about this story to the Scottish Sun, and they commented by saying, quote, "We are offered objects as donations to the National Collection all the time. We don't have space or capacity to accept them all." So that was their answer. I get it. I totally get it. Like, they probably get offered everything under the sun when it comes to like, this should be, open to the public, and this is a piece of history, and this and that. But I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool to like have one tiny little section in the museum donated to like the folklore and stuff of Scotland, like whether it's ghosts, the paranormal, witches. Like, we have a straight up witch museum in Edinburgh. So why not? Why not add, a UFO with balls to that? Spiky balls that tried to take a guy's pants off, right? Like, why not? Why not? But yeah, I'm wishing Malcolm all the best, and I hope one day we will see a UFO exhibit in one of the museums in Scotland. But while we're on this story, guys, a little bit more on a happy note when it comes to museums. I have some incredible news for you. And that is that both myself and Jane are actually going to be creating and curating a UFO exhibit for the upcoming Savannah Paranormal Museum. I am beyond excited and honored about this. Now, a good friend and colleague of mine, Christopher Susi, he is a paranormal investigator. He's an actor, just all around Renaissance man. He lives in Savannah, Georgia. He gives the best ghost walking tours ever. If you're ever in Savannah, look him up. I'll be sure to hook you guys up. He's just an incredible human being and so passionate about the paranormal and the unexplained. And he decided that he is going to open the first and ever official paranormal museum right in downtown Savannah, Georgia. So, if you guys don't know, Savannah is one of the most haunted places in the world. I mean, there's no debating or arguing that. Maybe Scotland has them beat. But other than that, Savannah's the place to be when it comes to the paranormal and ghosts and all that. But Chris said, hey, we're doing ghosts. We're going to have a room for cryptids. So why not UFOs? So he reached out to me. We've been talking back and forth for the past couple months. And we put the agreement in writing. And Jane and I will be creating the official exhibit of UFOs at the Paranormal Museum. Now, I need your guys' help. What should we do? What do you want to see featured in an exhibit at a paranormal museum? I mean, we don't even know where to begin. Like, do we start from the dawn of time? Do we cover ancient aliens? Do we go to the airships? Do we go up till today? Do we do it all? Is this a timeline? Are we going to do a timeline of ufology? Or are we going to focus on one topic? Like, the possibilities are endless. It's something Jane and I are working very closely with Chris on right now. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below this video or send me an email. What would you want to see in a paranormal museum when it comes to UFOs? Now, I've already reached out to several prominent UFO researchers who have agreed to donate a couple artifacts to me to give to the museum. So, we will be having some UFO artifacts from some very prominent, very famous UFO researchers. But yeah, how this is all going to come together is still yet to be decided. But that doesn't mean that you can't still visit the Paranormal Museum. It will be opening March of this year. So a little less than a month and a half away. You can learn more at SavannahParanormalMuseum.com. And I can't wait for you to see our UFO exhibit there in the future. So there you go, guys. Thought I'd end our museum talk with some good news. Some good news, that's for sure. Let's move to the big story that hit us all this week, and that's that there is apparently a secret FBI UFO working group that has been revealed. What? What is happening? What? So if you're watching this, we got an image here of a guy, FBI guy, looking at clipboard, some UFOs. So what's going on with the FBI and UFOs? Well, this story comes to us from Micah Hanks over at The Debrief. Shout out to Micah Hanks. He shouted me out on his show this week, so I had to do the same. And he did a pretty good write-up about this story. So there's a reason this group got revealed, and we're going to get to that in this article right now. So let me go ahead and read this. A small group of agents within the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, following up on reports of UAP, are now facing a more immediate concern: job uncertainty. So, the existence of the FBI's UAP working group was revealed this past Monday amid worries over a potential purge under the new Trump administration that may target federal officials who worked on cases that were related to the January 6th United States Capitol insurrection in 2021. Insurrection/attack. The claims, first reported by Politico, were backed by multiple sources familiar with the matter, some of whom spoke on background. Specifically, a 12-question survey recently issued by the Justice Department leadership to thousands of FBI agents and other employees asks individuals to detail their participation in investigations related to the January 2021 attack. The questionnaire followed a directive issued by the Justice Department late last week, which also sought the names, titles, and offices of all FBI personnel involved. Ryan Graves, in comes Ryan Graves of all people, guys. Ryan Graves, a former U.S. Navy pilot and co-founder of the advocacy group Americans for Safe Aerospace, expressed concerns on Monday that members of the FBI's UAP working group could be among the federal agents impacted by shifting dynamics under the new administration. So, there was a News Nation interview with Ryan Graves about this recently. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and we'll get a better understanding of what this group is, why they might be targeted, and what is going on with all this. The FBI and UFOs, like, we have reached the X-Files, guys. We have officially reached X-Files territory, which I am here for it. So let's go ahead and watch this video, and we'll talk a little bit more about this story on the other side.
Time ever, details coming to light about a secret FBI working group that allegedly investigates unidentified aerial phenomena, or also known as UAPs, UFOs. It's the first time that the group has ever been publicly disclosed, according to Politico. That claim coming from former Navy pilot Ryan Graves. If you remember, he was the first active duty pilot to come forward about regular sightings of UAPs. We heard his whistleblower testimony in front of Congress last year. Graves says the FBI working group is made up of more than a dozen staff who, quote, spend much of their time tracking down UAPs. I now want to bring in Ryan Graves. He's co-founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace. Ryan, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, this is the first time the public is learning of this secret group, this probe into UFOs. You've spoken to these agents. Who are they, and what exactly are they working on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So these agents have taken upon this responsibility as a part of a bottoms-up approach in order to understand what potential illegalities might be occurring with objects that are operating within our airspace that we're not properly tracking or mitigating. The FBI has both a law enforcement as well as a counterintelligence responsibility. So having objects that are harassing military bases as well as the general public over our national airspace squarely fits within their domain of responsibilities.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of Americans are listening to this segment right now, seeing this headline saying, what, FBI agents, you know, looking into UFOs? How long have they been a group, Ryan, and tasked with investigating them?
Well, my understanding is that they kicked off this work in about 2020. We've been engaging with them for the past year and a half. And what that primarily looks like, we receive a lot of reports at Americans for Safe Aerospace, some that might have serious national security implications. And so with the permission of the pilots or the witnesses, we've referred the pilot to interview with these groups such that these agents can then follow up on the reports, gather additional information, talk to additional witnesses, and look for gaps in our national security that they can address for the nation.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if they found anything so far? I mean, have they told you anything, any specifics?
Well, of course, they're limited to what they can share with me about these ongoing investigations. I'm not read in or part of the group in an official capacity necessarily. We're essentially trying to do the right thing by ensuring these gaps don't go unmitigated. But from what I understand is that their investigations have been very fruitful, and they've been able to move the ball both in an unclassified and classified regime forward quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And I understand several of them have told you that they're worried about losing their job in a Trump-targeted purge, since a lot of them worked on January 6th cases. You know, agents across the board have to fill out this questionnaire about their work on the Capitol attack. What are they sharing with you on that end, and what would your message to the White House be in regards to that?
Yeah, you know, there are expected to be a number of purges within the FBI, and although this isn't a classified effort, it is a quiet effort within the Bureau, and the fear was that these agents would get wrapped up into this larger removal of agents within the FBI and leave the UAP investigation essentially hung and dry where it is. So my message would be to the administration is to recognize the fantastic work that these agents are doing for our national security, and to ideally, directly to Director Patel, to formalize this effort within the agency and resource them so they can continue and expand their efforts.
Sorry. Thank you. I'm off of mute. Oops. What do you guys think about the UFO working group within the FBI? I want to know what you think. A little bit more here from this story that comes to us from Micah Hanks at the debrief. An FBI spokesperson with whom the debrief communicated with via email on Monday confirmed that, quote, taking a big breath here, it's a big sentence. The FBI investigates UAP when there is potential for a violation of federal law, particularly unlawful acts that could adversely affect our national interests, and to gather, share, and analyze intelligence to combat security threats facing the U.S. So basically, the FBI did confirm to the debrief that, yes, they do investigate UFOs. So, though acknowledging the FBI UAP working group's investigations, the spokesperson declined to comment on additional questions from the debrief regarding FBI personnel matters. Although few additional details have been made publicly available about the FBI's involvement in UAP investigations, the alleged working group is said to consist of a national program manager with participation from more than a dozen FBI agents from across the country who participate in the Bureau's investigations into these phenomena. The debrief also contacted the Pentagon regarding the FBI's working group and whether it coordinates with the DoD's current investigation into UAP, which is, ARROW. But for the time of this publication, it has not received a response about that. However, several official reports detailing the DoD's progress with UAP investigations have listed the FBI among the federal agencies it has been coordinating with since 2021. So basically, guys, if you will remember, in a heavily redacted version of the formerly classified 2021 ODNI report titled Preliminary Assessment. Wow, I can't talk. Preliminary Assessment, UAP, obtained via the FOIA by John Greenwald. It included a previously withheld appendix section that specially detailed the FBI's role in supporting the investigations then being conducted by the UAP task force. So, it was in front of us this whole time. Yeah. FBI has people investigating UFOs. Small group, but a group nonetheless. Almost seems like they have more agents working on this than ARROW has in their own office, which is pretty sad. Pretty crazy to think of it that way. But it is what it is, right? And, a lot of people were surprised by this when the story came up. But the FBI has been looking into this sort of stuff for a long time. These images I'm showing you up on the screen now actually came from the 1,600 something pages of documents that John Greenwald has over on the Black Vault concerning the FBI's connection with UAP. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showing several documents that literally have the stamp of the Federal Bureau of Investigation on them, looking into UFO cases. Right here we have a case of a quote-unquote flying disc out of Seattle, Washington. Crazy. Dated back in 1947. What? Our Lord and Savior, our year of the Lord and Savior, Roswell, Kenneth Arnold, all of it. Crazy, crazy. Here's another one. Metal fragments observed at West Ridge, New Hampshire. Advised that today he was in contact with one redacted of West Ridge, a retired redacted of New England. This sounds like it's almost like a retrieval, a UFO retrieval of some sort. Crazy, crazy stuff. Again, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Here's a memorandum called subject, quote, flying saucers. Just crazy stuff, guys. FBI UFO has been going on for a really long time. If you know who this is Bruce Maccabee. He is an author who has written a book all about the FBI and CIA UFO connection. Definitely a book worth your time and worth reading. So check it out if you haven't already. Okay. So this is where this story gets interesting. So this happened back in, I want to say 2023. And this story comes to us from the Daily Mail. And actually, it was brought to my attention by the Twitter handle secret_corp. So that's secret_corp on Twitter, who brought up this story that I totally forgotten about. I think a lot of people forgot about it, where there is this science lab group in New Jersey who are trying to build a flying saucer. And in doing so, they are trying to crack the code of anti-gravity. And in doing that, someone tipped off to the FBI that these guys might have some materials in their possession to help with their project of creating a flying saucer. And the FBI showed up to their lab to investigate this. But it doesn't end there. So I'm going to read a little bit from the story. Again, this comes from the Daily Mail and Secret Corp on Twitter. This happened back in October of 2023 when Mark Sokol, founder of the Falcon Space Laboratory in Hawthorne, New Jersey, told the Daily Mail that he was shocked when two federal agents showed up at his shop. Sokol said the more senior of the two agents told him that they had been tasked by the FBI with looking into UAP, and that they'd been tipped off that the lab may have had dangerous amounts of uranium stored. Sokol and his colleagues were attempting to use nuclear physics to make objects weightless, the first step towards building a functioning flying saucer. And this is interesting. I'm going to play this for you guys. There is CCTV footage that was shared with Daily Mail, which shows these two FBI agents flashing their badges and interviewing Sokol and the rest of the team. So let's watch this. This is crazy. So here's the agents showing up to the lab. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're just listening, I'll try to give you some commentary. All right. Here's them coming in to the lab. That's Sokol, the gentleman you see there, talking to these two agents at the door, presumably asking him about what they're doing, what kind of, maybe, are there any materials here that we should know about? Sokol clearly looks like, what is going on? What is happening here? I'm just trying to build a UFO, guys. Obviously we can't hear what's going on in here. Okay, so they're leaving. The two FBI agents leave. Sokol goes back to making a flying saucer. And here's the FBI agents leaving. And what you can't really see here, actually, in this footage is they had a Geiger counter, and they were going around the whole exterior of the lab, testing for radiation, basically. This is crazy. So, again, shout out to Sokol for providing the CCTV footage. This story is crazy, but it doesn't end there. So here's what Sokol had to say about what happened during the meeting, okay? He says, quote, "They showed up around noon. They flashed their badges, said FBI, and asked if we had any enriched uranium. I laughed and I told them no. One said that we're not in trouble and he wanted to come back at some point and pick my brain about UAPs because he personally was being tasked by the FBI in investigating UAPs. They said they got a tip off that I had enriched uranium. The only uranium we have here is a little piece that I got off Amazon to check our Geiger counter to make sure that it's working." Wow. So agents supposedly tasked by the FBI to investigate UAP show up to a lab in New Jersey where they are building a flying saucer. You can't make this shit up. I want to make like a play out of this or something. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Sokol. This is crazy. A spokeswoman for the FBI field office in Newark, New Jersey, did respond to this story and said, quote, "We receive information from the public each day through various reporting mechanisms." Thank you. We're so glad to know that. I don't know what that response is really supposed to mean. Like, we investigate every serious tip we get, maybe, is what she's saying, but I don't know. This would be the coolest moment in my life, Ashley says. Right? It's definitely bragging rights, and it's actually, like, much more believable than the FBI raid that took place with Bob Lazar. That whole debacle. Give me a break. Yeah, so yeah, I just thought this is a pretty cool story. And supposedly this Falcon Space Laboratory, they also claim to have a piece of Art's parts. Speaking of back to Art Bell, right? Of Art's parts, an alleged sample taken from the skin of the Roswell UFO crash. So the story just gets better and better. It's crazy. It's crazy. Wasn't there a kid that built a nuclear reactor in his shed years ago, Gareth? If that's true, that's terrifying. Isn't that how JP Parsons, isn't that how he died? Didn't he get blown up in his garage or something super weird and tragic? But yeah. Interesting story nonetheless. I thought you guys would enjoy that one. But we're not done. We're not done talking about the FBI because I mentioned the X-Files, and everyone's thinking it, the FBI, UFOs. We got to talk a little bit about the X-Files. I had the amazing opportunity to interview an actor from the X-Files, a couple of them, actually, at this point, back in the day, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but this story does involve one of the people I interviewed, and that's the Lone Gunmen. You guys remember them from the X-Files? These three conspiracy theory nuts, by far my favorite characters on the X-Files. They showed up in season 1 as kind of like Mulder's friends who he would turn to. Basically what these guys did is they ran a conspiracy theory newsletter out of their basement, basically. And they, a lot of their theories and things they talked about were pretty bombastic, pretty out there. But they were good friends with Mulder, and he would come to them for help, which is awesome. When they first showed up, the writers of the Lone Gunmen were like, I don't know if these guys are going to really, work out. I don't know how good they're going to be, liked by the audience. And they became an institution on the show. They were featured throughout like all of the first 8 seasons throughout, helping Mulder with various things. They had their own episodes within the X-Files, and then they got their own spin-off show as well. So you can't tell me the Lone Gunmen did not have fans, and I was definitely one of them. So this story comes to us from the media website Giant Freaking Robot. I love that. Check them out. I've worked with them in the past a few times. I think they did a review of one of my books at one point. But this was a great article. The real-life inspiration for the X-Files' most beloved sidekicks, the Lone Gunmen. So the Lone Gunmen were introduced in season 1 of the X-Files as Mulder's friends who ran a conspiracy theory newsletter. Byers, Frohickey, and Langley were their names. They would be featured prominently throughout the series. And basically, the story says nobody had any reason to believe that these three were based on real people. But recently, X-Files writers Glenn Morgan and James Wong revealed that the Lone Gunmen were inspired by a real trio of people that Morgan met at a UFO convention. A convention that he attended shortly before he began writing for the X-Files. Morgan claims that this trio of conspiracy theorists left an impression on him, and once he began writing for the series, he thought to himself, well, these people have got to make it in here somewhere. He had wanted to write them into the show earlier, but lamented that it just took too long to get them in, which is crazy because they show up in season 1, so he must have really, really wanted them in there earlier. So X-Files fans loved how quirky and over-the-top the characters were and how bombastic their conspiracies were. But Morgan stated, quote, I put them almost verbatim into the story on the X-Files. So Glenn Morgan and James Wong were particularly impressed by the real nerds giving a speech about how everyone's money is magnetized and nobody knows it. This inspired the moment in the episode EBE, where Byers takes apart a $20 bill and hands it to Scully, explaining that this is how the government tracks everyone, through these magnetic strips in paper money in the U.S. Apparently, that was based on an actual conspiracy theory that was brought forward at this UFO convention that Glenn Morgan went to. Crazy. So I thought that story was pretty cool. Like, these guys were based on speakers at a UFO convention. Who? I want to know. Who were these speakers in question? I wonder if we'll ever find that out. If any of you old school UFO researchers know anything about this, or if you think you are the inspiration for the lone gunman or someone you know, please let me know. I would absolutely love to know who these were. It's just crazy. But like I mentioned, if you're watching this, you see Langley. He's the gentleman at the forefront of this image with the glasses and the blonde, long hair. He came on my podcast very early on in the run of the show. We're talking episode 39 of Somewhere in the Skies. And this was back when I think season 10 or 11 of the X-Files was premiering. And Langley, the character Langley, one of the lone gunmen, made an appearance. So he came on my show to talk all about it, what it was like coming back to the X-Files. We talked all about how it came to be. And this guy knows his stuff. Like, he made a documentary about UFOs called The Truth Is Out There. His name is Dean Haglund, for those of you who don't know. He's an actor, originally from Canada, but he left his indelible mark on the X-Files as the iconic Langley of the Lone Gunman. So I had him on the show, and I asked him an interesting question. There've been rumors, even with Spielberg, like going to this Disclosure movie, going back to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that people are on set for these things when they're dealing with, let's say, Independence Day. There were members that were allegedly part of Area 51 at the time, Groom Lake, Nellis Air Force Range or whatever, that were on set of Independence Day because they were portraying Area 51 in the movie and they wanted to keep an eye and tabs on how they were doing it. Spielberg was said to have military people on set for Close Encounters. He obviously had J. Allen Hynek, who made an appearance in the movie, as we mentioned earlier. And there were rumors that throughout the run of the X-Files, there were FBI agents swarming that set, coming in to correct things. Maybe things were wrong. They're like, do it this way. Do that. Or just to keep a tabs on what the X-Files was doing. And I asked this question to Dean Haglund, like, had he ever experienced this? Did he ever see like shadowy men in black or FBI agents on set of the X-Files? And his answer actually surprised me. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from episode 39 of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast with Dean Haglund. Check this out. We all know, sort of, Dean, at this point, that the X-Files did use a lot of actual case material or had people on set, sort of advising in terms of when it came to how the military might have been involved with this, or obviously the FBI.
Right.
Did you ever come across anything, I guess, while filming or in the script or even with Lone Gunmen in terms of that? If like the conspiracy, correlated a little too closely with what you guys were working on? We all know the whole 9/11 thing.
I know that's a great example.
That is
and
a
the
great
spinoff.
example. Yeah, absolutely.
But that was I think that was a weird coincidence. If you're saying that, I've had, like, when I did, I still do stand up, but I was touring a lot while the show was on the air, and people would come to my comedy shows all around North America. And after the shows, sometimes there'd be like, I work for the FBI. Do you want to come by the office? I went to the San Antonio office and got to sit in the head FBI, or no, it wasn't San Antonio, it was El Paso, so there's pictures of me in Kevlar vests and wearing FBI stuff. And those guys would say, so these stories, particularly, and they would like say an episode, stuff like that, say, where did that information come from? And then I go, well, I don't know, the writers wrote it. yeah, okay. And I go, why? Is it well, we can't say. So they would never tell me exactly what was correlating so closely, but they were curious enough to actually specify specific examples in specific episodes to go, how did you get that information? So either it is just luck of the writers or, somehow some classified information got onto the airwaves.
There you go, guys. Oh man, that was nostalgia bomb. I loved that interview. You can go back into the archives and listen, episode 39 of the podcast, and hear more from Dean Haglund about shooting the X-Files, when things got a little too real, maybe, and the truth was revealed. But yeah, a lot of FBI talk tonight. I couldn't go without talking about the X-Files, and I'm so happy that I remembered about this interview. One of my favorites, that's for sure. Okay. Before we get to the last story, the last story of the night tonight, guys, let's take a very quick break so we can reset the room. I got to get some stuff in order here. And I'm going to read out, when we come back, I'm going to read out who you guys think should make an appearance in the upcoming Steven Spielberg movie, Disclosure. You still have time to get your answers in. Put it in the chat. We'll star them, and I will read them out when we come back from our commercial break. And then we will get to our last story of the night about a quote-unquote bombshell that should be dropping on Twitter X next week. So stick with us, and we will be back to somewhere in the live stream. Greetings, everyone. Ryan Sprague here, host of Somewhere in the Skies. For over 7 years and more than 400 episodes, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast has always been free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So we offer several ways to help support our efforts and get rewards in return. If you listen to the podcast on Apple, you can click the subscribe button at the top of your Somewhere in the Skies feed to become a premium Apple subscriber. Or you can join our Patreon campaign with several tiers available. Both of these options give you the same benefits and rewards: ad-free episodes, early access to the main show, and bonus episodes and content. Help keep the lights on at the Somewhere in the Skies HQ, and help us continue to grow by becoming a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/somewhereskies, or by clicking the subscribe button at the top of your Apple feed. Thank you for your continued support, and keep looking up. All right, welcome back to Somewhere in the Live Stream. If you're just joining us, we have been talking all things FBI and UFOs. It's the big story of the week. A secret FBI UFO working group may be in peril already. Go back and make sure to watch and listen to what we just talked about. We talked about Paul Giamatti is going to be playing Art Bell in a movie about Coast to Coast AM. What universe are we living in? This is just crazy, crazy stuff, guys. And what else did we talk about? Oh, of course, what we're about to get your answers for. Steven Spielberg has renamed his upcoming UFO movie. It is now titled Disclosure. And as we had mentioned, J. Allen Hynek was featured in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But I want to know who you guys want to see featured in the movie Disclosure. What UFO person, past or present, would you like to see make a cameo in the movie? The answers are still coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and head on over to these and get your answers. You guys ready? Joseph wants Hal Puthoff to be the cameo in the movie. Juan says Dana Scully. Love it. Daniel, I think it should be you, Sprague. Oh, that's very kind of you, my friend. I would die a happy man if I was ever in any Spielberg movie, to be honest. Ooh, this is a good one. Juan says the smoking man from the X-Files. Good one. Someone else said cigarette smoking man. I thought I saw earlier. Jeffrey says Richard Dreyfuss's character. Yeah, that'd be cool. Like if Richard Dreyfuss's character finally, because remember in the movie he went with the aliens. He was like part of the quote unquote exchange program at the end there. So maybe he finally comes back. That would be interesting. It was Ashley who said it. Careful deliberation. I choose cigarette smoking, man. Yeah, and so did Juan. That's cool. M says Dr. Greer. Interesting choice. Moth into Flames. Hello, Ryan. You should make a cameo. He could go, hey, it's a UFO. Then they will say, no, Ryan, it's a sequel. You got me. You got me. Moth into Flames. Is that Mick West? Incognito, I think it is. Shaq Valet. The director Kevin Smith is the closest film celeb to George Norrie I can think of. Richard says, last one, who would play Ryan? Ryan Gosling? I wish. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my God, I wish. Moth into Flames. George Norrie should be played by Nick Offerman. Interesting. You're talking about our Paul Giamatti story earlier. I love that. That's a good one. Also, shout out to Joseph and to James for the super chat, super stickers, guys. Thank you so much for your support. We just need 3 more of those to reach our goal for tonight, guys, in helping to support our endeavors here. So thank you. Jay Lilly wants to see Valet in the movie. I love that. He kind of was, if you'll remember, there was a French scientist in Close Encounters. So I guess that kind of counts too. I think kind of Hynek made a cameo, but Jacques was actually like a character in the movie. Just, wasn't played by him, unfortunately. Dalen wants Micah Hanks with a Death Leopard t-shirt. Death Leopard. I said death. Oh, I love that. Good choice. Richard says, the most humble man in the UFO community, I say Peter Robbins. Richard, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Let's campaign to get Peter Robbins in the movie. That's the one I pick as well. Keanu Reeves, Gareth says. Nice. Jeff Bridges would be a good experiencer, Gareth says. Robert says, I think Ryan should be in it. Need some comedy in there somewhere. I would bring some lightheartedness to it, that's for sure. Nisa says, Peter Coyote, that's an interesting choice. Narrates many of James Fox's documentaries. That'd be good. Lou Elizondo, Margaret says, apparently he might have ties to this movie. I don't know that as a fact, but some people say that. Simon says, Nick Pope. Interesting. Margaret says, nobody known as they all want to change the script to suit them. Interesting. Mick Weston is amazing flying plastic bag. Love it. Can we send Elon Musk in exchange for the aliens? What says? That's going to be the poll next week, Suzanne. Let's note that right now. Thank you so much to Ashley for the super sticker and to Richard. Keep up the good work. He says, I really do appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Thank you. I see another Jacques Vallée. Love it. Joe Pesci for Skeptic. That'd be interesting. You just say the F word every other word. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you. Thank you for contributing to that question. I thought that'd be a little fun one. But let's move to our last story of the night. And that brings us to a tweet that came out just a couple days ago now from Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. And she, in this tweet, teased a major announcement in the coming days. And this was the tweet by Representative Anna Paulina. I have an announcement next week that will impact the entire nation. Press conference date will be announced soon. Now, this obviously could have been anything. Something she's been working on, lobbying for. It could have been anything, right? But this is where it gets interesting because Jared Moskovich, a Democrat, actually out of Florida as well, I believe. Yeah, Florida Congressman Jared Moskovich, he commented on the post with a simple, "I know." So what do these two have in common? We'll get to that. We'll get to that in just a minute. But the reason everyone thinks this is UAP related is because of Jared Moskovich's response. But let's go ahead and play this clip about Anna Paulina kind of explaining this tease and what it could be. So let's watch this first.
Announcement that you teased earlier in the week where you said, I'm going to do something that will change the face of the American government forever. Here's the exact language of your post that went thermonuclear. I have an announcement next week that will impact the entire nation. Press conference to be announced soon. Everyone's wondering if it's aliens, but maybe it goes even deeper than that. Congresswoman, can you tell us?
I think it's bigger than that. I think, without getting too much into the details, and the date will be posted soon. You'll find that date for the press conference. I'd actually encourage everyone to tune in, and we're going to be opening it up, if we can, to some independent journalists as well. But I think that for far too long, people have been lied to by their government, and I think the way that you regain trust and you really help restore the nation, and I think bring back not just, I think, hope, but also, and remember, hope is contagious, but you really help it to secure it for future generations. I think that you have to have a fully transparent government. And so I won't get too much more into the details, but we're going to be doing something really big. So I am happy that I was entrusted with this, and I'm going to be doing some good stuff with some incredible people, and I'll leave it at that.
She's going to be doing good stuff with incredible people. So there it is, guys. I played that clip because it was the most empty non-response I've ever heard in the history of words being uttered by the mouths of human beings. That said nothing. That teased nothing. It was hilarious seeing her try to skirt around whatever this actually meant. And this is what happens when you hype something and then someone asks you, okay, so what's it about? She said it's bigger than aliens. So what could it be? If I had to guess, something to do with national security, transparency, the UAP topic, drones, blah, 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 blah. But who freaking knows? But because of the response by Jared Moskovich, everyone thinks UAP, because these two have been working on a bipartisan effort for a while now to get more transparency when it comes to the topic of UFOs. I've personally interviewed Jared Moskovich for the New York Post of all places. I had the opportunity to interview him for an article that I wrote about the congressional UFO hearing that he attended back in the days of David Grush, the first congressional hearing. I got some quotes from Jared Moskovich, a couple others, Garcia, someone else I interviewed in that article, Chris Mellon as well. Yeah, it's back in the archives on the New York Post if you guys want to read it. But all of this to say, these two have been working for a while when it comes to UFOs. And I want to play this clip because this kind of encapsulates what these two have been trying to do for a while now. And this video dates back to just after the Grush hearing, but it has a lot to do with what's going on now and what this potential tweet and upcoming press conference could be about. So let's give this a watch.
Jared Moskowitz, Democrat of Florida, and Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Republican of Florida as well. Thank you to you both for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate it. Congressman Moskowitz, I want to start with you. Representative Tim Burchett, who's on that House subcommittee with you, says he is 100% sure the federal government is covering up documents about UFOs. Do you agree?
Oh, I think Tim is right. I mean, there's definitely information that the U.S. government is keeping, not just from the American people, but from Congress. I mean, you're talking about satellite imagery, you're talking about pictures, you're talking about radar data. I mean, these pilots are interacting with these things in real time. These are legit pilots with decorated backgrounds who are coming forward with whistleblower status, testifying in hearings under oath of what they interacted with. There's some video of that. But listen, I was saying in the hearing, when a Russian jet interacts with one of the American drones and damages its propeller, we get immediate video of that. We get immediate pictures that it gets released to the American public and the world to show what happened. But when there's a UAP, we get nothing. And so the idea that we don't use the same technology to capture those events doesn't pass the smell test.
Congresswoman Luna, I want to play an exchange that you had with David Grush, a former intelligence officer in the Defense Department and a whistleblower who claims the U.S. government is in possession of, how we put it, non-human bodies and spacecraft. Let's listen to that.
In the last couple of years, have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life for addressing these issues?
Yes, personally.
So Mr. Grush went on to say, describing this retaliation that he faced as administrative terrorism. As you understand it, what happens to people, to officials who share what they know?
Well, in the instance of Grush, of which we are actively working in a bipartisan fashion to get into a SCIF to obtain the rest of the information for his testimony, but they are receiving retribution, whether it's being punished with their jobs in fear of losing their jobs, and or in the instance of Grush, as you heard, obviously something more serious. And I think that the Democrat ranking member Raskin actually mentioned a great point that anyone who's guilty of really bullying or intentionally trying to silence and engaging in illegal acts to keep whistleblowers from bringing forward information to the American people needs to be held accountable. And so we are looking into that. But it is scary to hear that a gentleman with his background, his expertise, is in fear of his life because he's simply bringing forward information to the American people.
So let's talk about what's going to happen next, Congressman, right? Senate Majority Leader Schumer is pushing to create a commission with broad authority to declassify documents related to UAPs. Do you believe he has support in the House?
I do. And as you can see here, this is a bipartisan, nonpartisan effort. I mean, just after the hearing, a bunch of colleagues on both sides of the aisle gathered on the House floor to figure out what the next steps are. So this is not just bipartisan, it's bicameral. This is something that's been going on for a long period of time. And so, yeah, there should be next steps. We should be getting the document that Mr. Grush submitted to the Inspector General. We should be getting him in a SCIF so that we can get additional information. And the military needs to come forward, because at the end of the day, if we're wrong, and if these pilots are wrong, then the military should prove why they're wrong and how, rather than just not answering the question. The American people deserve disclosure. The time has come.
Congresswoman, is there a particular piece of evidence that you want to see that you believe is being withheld by the government?
I would very much so like to show the rest of my colleagues the information that I was shown at Eglin Air Force Base, of which we were initially stonewalled and prevented from seeing. I think that that alone would really change the national discussion. But I also think that for those members that are investigating, how dare the Pentagon, how dare the military tell members of oversight that we have no classification to look into this when it comes to the national defense and protecting the American people. So they need to stop playing games.
Quit playing games with my heart. Okay, enough of that. First of all, my girl's gotta stop getting lip fillers. That doesn't come from me. I'm not gonna say who it came from. But and also she's not my girl. But that woman needs to stop. She needs to stop. She's gonna explode. Okay, so what is the big announcement going to be? Why was this tweet sent out, and what will this press conference be about? I want to know from you guys in the comments below, in the chat. What do you think it's going to be, and will it bring any UFO disclosure or more transparency? Let me know. Let me know. Well, that's it, guys. That's it for the news today. Wow, we did it in under 2 hours. Yeah, right? Golf clap, Suzanne. We're usually like 2 hours in because I blab my head off. But this was a fun one tonight. I hope you enjoyed those Super Bowl commercials about UFOs. I'm sure there will be more tonight. If there are, I'll be sure to post them on our social media. The FBI and UFOs, crazy, crazy stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for everyone who contributed their answers to who should make a cameo in the upcoming Steven Spielberg Disclosure movie. You can continue those recommendations and opinions in the comments section below on YouTube, or send them to us over on Facebook, Twitter, what have you. I'd love to know what you think. But before anyone leaves, I've got some awesome, awesome stuff coming your way that you're going to want to hear about. And this is the first one. Our episode dropping tonight has a lot to do with what's going on in the world of UFOs today, but we are rewinding to the year 1958 with an episode I've titled Code Orange, a top secret UFO crash retrieval. I have spent almost 2 months on this episode, from initial research to writing the entire script to hiring an incredible voice actor who you are going to hear prominently throughout the entire episode, playing our whistleblower in a top secret UFO retrieval in this episode. The one and only Paul Gledhill of the Anomaly podcast dedicated his time, talents, and efforts to voicing this episode, and I cannot wait for you to hear it. He knocked it out of the park. I will say, I know I said it at the top of the show, this is one of the best episodes I personally feel I have ever produced of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. I'm extremely proud of it. A lot went into it, and it's coming to you in just a couple hours. So be sure to check it out on the main feed. It is available right now to Patreon subscribers and Apple Premium subscribers. So if you just can't wait a couple hours, you can go and join our Patreon campaign to get that episode right now. But it will be dropping on the main feed in just a couple hours. And the reason I bring up Patreon is this. 2 of our upcoming guests on the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. That's right, we have 2 returning guests. The first will be Jacques Vallée. The legendary Jacques Vallée will be joining me this Tuesday to record an episode of the podcast where we will be talking all about his brand new book, which is his 6th and final installment of the Forbidden Science series. And it's called, I believe it's called Scattered Castles. So there's my first question for him. What's up with that subtitle? I freaking love it. Apparently the book is amazing. I've had a chance to read a few chapters now. I'm furiously going through it before Tuesday. But I want your listener questions for Jacques as well. Also, recording on Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be a very busy day for me. I will be interviewing filmmaker Dean Alioto about his brand new documentary, The Alien Perspective. So jam-packed day of recording, jam-packed day of interviews coming to you in the near future of Somewhere in the Skies. But I want listener questions for both of these gentlemen from you guys. And the way that you can get your questions asked of both of them is to become a Patreon subscriber, and you get priority to ask our guests your listener questions. That's not to say that I won't ask other questions submitted to by you guys that aren't Patreon or Apple Premium subscribers, but they do get priority. So their questions go to the top of the list. So you can join at patreon.com/somewhereskies. Again, that's patreon.com/somewhereskies. And you will see our listener question posts for both of these guys over there. If you don't want to do that, you could simply send me your listener questions via email. Email is in the show notes as well, and I will try to get to those if I can. So yes, very busy week here coming up. And I had a very busy time in New York City recently when I was the guest on the Burbs Boys podcast, a hilarious podcast hosted by Sean Donnelly and Dan St. Germain. These guys are amazing. There's a link right there for you guys on the screen. It's in the show notes as well. You can watch the full hour-long interview I did with the Burbs Bros. We were in their studio in New York City. It was so cool. I felt like such a celebrity when they gave me that throne you see me sitting in. That velvety throne while they're sitting in lawn chairs. It was great. I had the time of my life. It was fun. It was funny and also very insightful. We talked about everything from the Betty and Barney Hill UFO abduction to the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. We talked about my adventure in hiking the mountains of Calvine, Scotland with James Fox to try to find the location of the Calvine UFO photo. And we just, shot the proverbial crap about UFOs, thoughts, theories, everything in between. It was such a fun time. And you can watch that full interview right now on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to their channel as well, the Burbs Bros podcast, or subscribe wherever you get podcasts. You can listen to it anywhere you get our show as well. So I hope you will check that out. All right. Well, that's going to do it, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube-y stuff. And I will mention once again, if you want to take part in our Apple Podcast rating and review contest, you will win a vintage UFO book and a surprise gift from me. And all you got to do is go over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review Somewhere in the Skies podcast. Send me a screenshot of your rating and your review through email or through social DMs, whether it's Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, or Twitter X. Just make sure I get that. And the deadline is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 14th. That's right, Valentine's Day. I will announce the winner on February 15th. So good luck to all of you. Be sure to rate and review Somewhere in the Skies over on Apple Podcasts. So thank you once again. And I do want to send a special thank you once again to all of our super chatters and our group members who joined. Fabian, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you to Joseph. Thank you to James Craig. Thank you to Ashley. Thank you to Richard, to Simon, to the biologist. And yeah, that's going to do it. That's going to do it, guys. So episode dropping just a couple hours. Be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, I got to say it because it's Super Bowl Sunday. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's get to the Super Bowl. Let's watch those commercials and let's hope for some more UFO commercials that we can talk about next week. So I'm going to leave you guys, as always, with my special thanks to you once again, to all of our regulars, to all of our new subscribers, viewers. Hello to Twitch. I forgot to say hi to you guys over there. Hello to Twitter. Hello to Facebook. And hello to all of you on YouTube. Thank you, as always, for joining us on Somewhere in the Live Stream. And I will leave you with our mantra, as always. And that is, keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies. Keep looking up, and I'll see you next week.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.